So, a brand new game called Impulse is about to release, and this is going to go into early access very soon that everybody can play. This is an arena shooter made by 1047 Games, the original developers of Splitgate, and this game is essentially, well, the way it was pitched to me is that it was a cross between Titanfall and Black Ops 3, and I heard Black Ops 3 and I was in, and this video is sponsored, but I have already been playing this game for a long time, actually. I've been in a lot of playtests and kind of seeing this game as its development's gone along, so I was really happy to play this game anyways and to kind of show it off to you guys. What I want to do in this video is give you guys my honest impressions of it, the good, the bad, and everything, and I'm just going to lay out everything I feel about my experience of Impulse, and you can kind of decide if this is the right game for you to try out. So Impulse, like I said, is an arena shooter that takes heavy inspiration from Titanfall and Black Ops 3, and you can immediately see that in the basics of gameplay because it is centered around being a, very fast-paced, momentum-based shooter. And so that means that there are virtually no restrictions to movement at all. I mean, that is the fundamental core of the game, is using movement and using it creatively. This includes wall jumps, jetpacks, being able to chain that into grapples, and so on. I will say the game does a really good job if you can think about doing something movement-wise. If you want to go to a certain building or wall run on a certain ledge, you can do just about anything you can think of, and you can chain all of those things together. And part of the satisfaction of the gameplay loop is getting those kind of like movement-based momentum combos down, getting a lot of speed, and just absolutely going crazy. It is a lot of fun in that regard. So I want to start with the good things about the game and the things that I really enjoy about Impulse. First and foremost, the core gameplay loop I think is actually a lot of fun. I mean, obviously it lifts some of the best parts from Titanfall and Black Ops 3's multiplayer and puts them into a new setting that we haven't really quite experienced before, but those attributes that were so well liked in those older games definitely come through here, and getting accustomed to the new movement system felt really natural just because of how well it's done. Even from some of the earlier playtests, they've polished the movement quite a bit, and where it is now, like, it just comes as second nature to anybody who's ever put any time into Titanfall or Black Ops 3. Like, you'll know how to interact with the game the moment you touch the controller, which is always a good feeling. That's kind of that intuitive feeling you want for a video game. Now, I will also say in terms of good things, the map design has been really good and surprisingly very solid. There have been new maps added even since the last time I played, and the brand new maps that I experienced in this most recent playtest, I happened to really like. They're actually just very solid core map designs, and they make it so that each lane does complement some kind of play style. You can obviously play extremely momentum-based, but there are weapons that cater to a slightly more slow play style. Now, not all of the weapons, I would say, are viable on every map, and that is one of the negatives we'll get to in a little bit, but for the most part, if you're just running a traditional SMG or AR or something, you can perform pretty well in all of these maps, and they are solidly designed. I enjoyed them quite a lot. There is also quite a deep system of challenges in Impulse. They're called gigs in this game, and you basically have like 3 different tiers of difficulty, and they all grant you different rarity of like cosmetic rewards and things like that. Now, while the challenge system will be in play for at least the first little while after launch, their game will have no microtransactions. It's just going to be focusing on the core moment-to-moment gameplay and making sure that is ironed out and down solid, and then you can start getting into the more, cosmetic rewards down the road. Also worth mentioning that the majority of these cosmetics are earnable in-game only, right? And they cannot be purchased. So as far as being able to grind something and get, cosmetics for challenges and improvements in your gameplay, which is really what this is focused on, that has an extremely built-out system for that. Weirdly enough, I think one of the most enjoyable aspects of Impulse's gameplay to me was that it was actually just a very classic arena shooter again. Every single game is trying to either chase trends of a battle royale or even an extraction game, and we're seeing a lot of that already in the industry, and perhaps maybe a little bit too much, but this is just a good old-fashioned arena shooter, no frills or whistles about it. It's just, a classic mode that a lot of us grew up on when it comes to first-person shooter games, but it does take that movement, based momentum gameplay to the next level. I've never played anything quite like this. I mean, even Black Ops 3 and Titanfall had their restrictions when it comes to the movement, and I would say that that's really the difference here, is that there's virtually no rules about movement, so whatever you want to do, you can do it. Impulse currently does have a variety of different game modes, and more are getting added each time I play, and I do believe more are on the way shortly, but right now you have stuff like Team Deathmatch, you have a lot of attack and defend stuff. And of course, if you're not just actually playing as a soldier, you know, just running around and shooting people, you can play in the mechs. That's obviously a huge part of the gameplay loop as well, and the mechs are obviously a lot of fun. So in all of my playtime, there are a lot of positives to experience. I really enjoy the core gameplay loop. It's an interesting take on the best parts of Titanfall and Black Ops 3 that have never really been blended in this way before, and it is quite unique in that aspect, and it's just a good old-fashioned arena shooter format that I personally love, with a solid rotation of maps. I mean, you can't really ask for much more than that. Now, I do want to talk about some of the negatives that I have, and they're more, I would say, critiques of things that could either make the game better if they were addressed, or things that just personally were not my preference. The first thing is that I was not overly in love with the visual style of the game, and not that it's inherently bad or there's something wrong with it. It's obviously this kind of like futuristic tech city, almost like a cyberpunk looking aesthetic with mechs and whatnot. But other than that, like the actual gameplay look itself just felt a little generic to me. This even comes down to like some of the scorecards and menus. I just feel like these are like a version 1 of something that could be a little bit more stylish, again, for a game that looks like this or is using these kinds of systems. Maybe it's just a personal thing, but I would like to see a little bit more sauce in the game's aesthetics, its personality, a lot of the weapons. I just think that it could definitely go a step farther in making a unique look and feel for the game, because as is, they have a solid core base. I just wish that maybe the game itself looked a little more unique. The other note I have is that weapon balancing, as of right now, or in the most recent session that I played in, is a little bit all over the place. There are some weapons that are extremely overpowered at the moment, but more importantly, I think that there's weapons that simply don't serve a function in this meta, particularly snipers. I mean, I didn't snipe a ton, but I did notice that like snipers felt very underpowered, and that could be because they don't traditionally one-shot unless you're on the extreme upper body, but also like trying to hit snipes in a movement momentum-based shooter is a challenge that obviously is more difficult than something that is more grounded. I think it's a very fixable problem. I think snipers maybe having a slightly more generous one-shot range would make them feel a lot better, but also shotguns are kind of in a weird spot too. Either way, the weapon balancing is something that can obviously be tweaked and tuned over time, and the way that that impacts ranked mode, because this game will have ranked, is obviously still to be determined, but they have a solid base to work off of. It's just not in a perfect spot right now. With the selection of all the weapon attachments and different perks that you can run on your soldier, there is quite a lot of customization to be had, which is nice, but I would say that I would like to see, again, a little bit more personality in the perks themselves, maybe some of the attachments and weapons, and even though there are really cool cosmetics for these, the designs of the weapon models, I think, could maybe go a step farther. So my overall opinion is that it's an old-fashioned style arena shooter, but there's nothing quite old-fashioned about the mechanics themselves. We've never seen a freedom of movement shooter quite like this, where there are virtually no rules. I mean, you're not exactly, you know, just free camming around the map, but it kind of feels like you are sometimes with how many options you have. And if that's something that is appealing to you, then it might be worth going to spend a couple hours and check this out. EMPULSE is going into early access like today, I guess, as I'm making this video, and it will have a 25% discount for the first 7 days. So it'll be $14.99 for the first week and then $20 afterwards. Been keeping an eye on this game for a while and watching it in early development, and then now getting to where it is now in early access, and I'm happy that it's been released to the public and you guys can try it out for yourself. And again, as someone, you know, who kind of misses like Black Ops 3 multiplayer sometimes, and even Titanfall multiplayer, this is a very unique blend of those two best attributes that I've personally never played a shooter like this before, and it definitely won't be for everybody, but for the people that this really clicks with and movement-based guys, this is absolutely going to be your thing. Anyways, make sure to check out the game. Link will be down below in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.